Hello, EveryStem members. Luann here. I am super excited about sharing our new swap item feature functionality with you in this tutorial. Let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to go ahead and open up a Rosemary's Catering corporate event that I created a recipe for. We've got a page for party florals and a page for the speaking engagement. We're going to go ahead and click on our party florals page because we have several arrangements we're doing for this corporate event. And we've got some blue flowers, we've got some greenery. The wholesaler has told me that these light blue hydrangeas are not available. So typically in the past, I would have clicked on that flower and manually changed this from light blue to white. I would have had to update all the information manually. But now we have this amazing new swap item feature. So we're going to, instead of manually adjusting this, we're going to click on the swap item button, and it's going to pull up a list of all the flowers that we could possibly swap this flower out for. This is pulling up your library and the flowers within the event. So we're going to take a look at what we could swap it out for. We know that we could swap it out for a white hydrangea. So if we start typing in hydrangea, we'll have our options here. The white hydrangea is on the other page of my event, but it is not on the page that I'm currently working on. So I could swap it from my event and add it into the current page. Or if I wanted to do a larger dark blue hydrangea, I could swap that one in on the current page that I'm working on, or I could swap it on all of the pages of this event. So there are some options, just like you have when you add an item. You can add it to the current page, or you can add it to all the pages. This is similar functionality. It looks very similar, and we did that on purpose so that it would just kind of flow for you. We're going to go ahead and click Swap on Current Page. We're going to change this light blue hydrangea to a white hydrangea. We're just going to swap that out. We need to make that substitute. We're going to get a confirmation modal that pops up that tells us what flower we're going to be swapping and what flower we're going to be replacing it with, and the price, and if it's by the stem or the bunch of each of those. And then we're going to go ahead and click Confirm. Now you'll see that our blue hydrangea has become white hydrangea, and we can go ahead and send this over to our wholesaler. That's the general functionality of the swap item button. I'm going to go ahead and show you a few examples of how you can use this to create functional recipes. This would be great for creating templates, and then also some other ways that you can use this feature to really streamline your business and start speeding up this process of building recipes and then repurposing them for specific uses. Okay, flower friends, I am back with a very interesting way for you to use the swap item feature. It's called functional recipes, and this is going to be a really great step towards streamlining your recipe creation and being able to build some recipes that are going to be very simple for you, starting out with some generic flower names, generic item names, and then swapping them using the swap item feature for specific flower varieties and specific items. So let's take a look at this functional recipe event that I've created here called Fall Retail Designs. Fall season's coming up for us here in the US, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at our fall hand-tied bouquets. Now, I've created 3 hand-tied bouquet recipes using very generic functional flower names. You can see those down here. They include focal flower, filler flower, accent flower, dancer flower, and so on. Now, these generic flower names give me the opportunity to build something that's a general recipe. Then what I could do is make a copy of this and fill it in with the specific varieties that I want. So if I was doing a monthly subscription, I could do a copy of this for September, for October, and for November. And I could have all 3 months with different floral varieties that I'm going to put into these recipes just using the swap item feature. So let's start with a September option. We're going to go back to the dashboard. We're going to go ahead and click on copy button here, the copy icon, and we're going to change this to September Final Recipes. And that way we'll have a copy that has our original generic functional formulas, and we will have a copy that is going to be our final recipes. So let's go ahead and click submit. and we're going to go ahead and open up our copy that we've created. Now the copy is going to have everything that we've already entered into it. So I can click on the fall retail hand-tied bouquets, and I can start to use the swap item feature once I know what's available in September. So for my high-end focal flower, if I click on this, I could manually change this, but I don't want to do that. I want to use my swap item button. I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to search for anthurium. I think I would like to maybe do a beautiful anthurium as my high-end focal flower. Now, the price in the system is $3.50. It's quite a bit less than the $7 that I had estimated, but that is okay, because maybe what I'll do is do 2 of those and change my recipe, or maybe I'll just make a little bit more money on this design, or maybe I'll adjust the recipe once I get all my flowers in there. But I am guessing on the high end of the pricing when I create my functional flower items, so that way I don't end up going way over budget. So we're going to go ahead and click the anthurium. We're going to swap it out on the current page. It's going to ask me if I want to confirm, and I do. So I'm going to go ahead and do a focal flower. Let's say we want to change this from just a generic focal flower to a rose. So let's search for our roses. And I want to go ahead and do a quicksand rose. Let's swap that one out. Now, as you can see, every time I change these, it's telling me what the flower is that I had before and what the flower is that I'm going to be swapping it out for. So it's very clear what's happening with my flowers. If I want to do a filler flower, now this flower is set up in my system by the stem, but let's say I want to swap this out for something like wax flower. I can swap it. It will let me swap it, but it's going to give me a warning. It's telling me that I am swapping an item by the stem. I'm swapping the filler flower that's $1.50 a stem for an item that is by the bunch. I want to change that to a wax flower that is set up as $9.90 for the whole bunch in my system. So I need to make sure that I change the quantities in my recipes accordingly, because if not, if I have this set up where I'm buying 2 stems of filler flower, it's going to go ahead and switch it, and it's going to automatically assume that I want to order 2 bunches of wax flower. So please be aware of this warning. When you see this warning pop up, make sure that you understand that you're going to have to adjust your recipe quantities. So if we click confirm, right now you'll see if we scroll down that we're way over budget here on all 3 of these designs, because it's thinking that we want 2 full bunches, but what we really want is probably about 0.2 of a bunch, and 0.4 of a bunch, and 0.4 of a bunch. So it was that easy to go ahead and adjust those. And now when we scroll down, we're going to see that we're back to having that nice wiggle room. And maybe what I want to do is go ahead and add an anthurium into my smallest design and see if that will fit, and it does. So I can go through this entire recipe and change out every single flower for the specific flowers that I want to buy. Then I can adjust to make sure that my difference is as close to 0 without going over as possible. And then if I know I want to sell 10 of these as subscriptions because I have 10 people who are on my small fall subscription, then I can go ahead and adjust this from 125 to 1250. And I can go ahead, export this, and I have my flower order ready to go for my fall subscriptions. I would do obviously the same thing for the medium size and for the large size, depending on how many of those I plan to sell. If anybody has any questions about taking a functional flower recipe, using some generic flower names and turning them into specific flower recipes, please let me know. But I think this is going to be a game changer for those of you who really spend some time thinking about how you can apply this to your business, and spend some time using the copy feature and the swap item feature in conjunction to take functional recipes and turn them into specific flower variety recipes. You can also do this in reverse. You can take a specific flower variety recipe and turn it into a functional recipe. Then what you could do is use that as a template. So I'm going to show you that in the next clip. Okay, I hope at this point you are really starting to see some of the amazing use cases that you're going to have for the swap item feature. And this one I think is going to be really interesting. If you have a client and you do their wedding or you do a beautiful retail design and you absolutely love it, you can put it into EveryStem. Let's say you've already done the recipe in EveryStem and the result is amazing. If that's the case and you want to turn that into a template, this is a really great way to use the swap item feature. So I'm going to use this Olivia James wedding as an example on how we can do that. So let's take a look at making a copy of this, okay? We're going to go ahead and go back to the dashboard. We're going to use our copy feature and we're going to turn this into functional wedding recipes. And we'll call this a la carte garden mix. And let's just say that this is a template. It's nice to put the word template in the description or the name of the event, because then what happens is when you go ahead and search for it, if you search for the word template, then all your templates will pop up, which is really nice. So we're going to go ahead and open up that template. And you're going to see that right now, the flowers are still the same as what we had before, because these were from the original wedding. We just made a copy of that specific Olivia James wedding. So what I want to do is I want to go into each of these flowers and switch them into a functional flower name. So my white hydrangea, I'm going to go ahead and swap that out, and I'm going to search for the word flower, because all of my functional flowers have the word flower in them. It's pretty easy to find them. And I call hydrangea a base flower. So I'm going to go ahead and swap that out. Now the base flower is a little more expensive. So we're going to see that our pricing is a little bit negative here. But that's okay, because we can adjust this. We might actually want to charge the next client a little bit more. So that way we have a little more functionality and a little bit more wiggle room when we're charging the client. Because most of my hydrangeas are usually around $3. That one I happen to get that week for $2.50. You know, that happens. We want to be estimating on the high end for these things. Our quicksand rose, we're going to swap that out and we're going to call that a focal flower. So if we search for the word flower, we can find our focal flower, and we're going to swap that one out and we'll confirm that. Then we've got another rose. We've got a white Tibet rose. So what I did was I named it focal flower number 2. And so I have 2 focal flower options, because sometimes I like to have 2 different varieties of roses, or I want to have a rose and a tulip or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and call it focal flower number 2. I'm going ahead and just changing all of these flowers into generic flower names. Once I've completed that, I could go ahead and adjust my quoted prices so that next time when somebody comes in and meets with me, I know that I want to charge about $2.75 for a recipe with this generic flower recipe. What you could then do is you could turn it into a template and copy it over and over again and use it for your small weddings. I hope you really spend some time actually using it and thinking about how you can apply it to your own business. And as always, thank you for being a member, and I'll talk to you soon.